I'm Josh Steen, resident director here at Corinth Theater Arts. This is my very good friend, Clay S. Nails, president of our board of directors, volunteer extraordinaire. And this is Going Off Book, our weekly, this is what's going on here at Corinth Theater Arts. How's it going, Clay?
So far, so
So far, so good.
Yeah, look at the holiday weekend coming up, so that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, well, I guess. We hope that you're safe where you are, and that you've had a chance to go back and watch our previous episodes of Going Off Book, which you can on our YouTube channel. You should check that out. That's really good stuff. And we have a really good episode for you this week. I really feel like we'll get to that in a moment. First, I want to give you a little bit of an update of sorts. We're really fortunate that we were able to meet with our cast of Frozen Junior the other day, and we had rehearsal in the Care Garden in downtown Corinth, thanks to the Corinth Museum, the Crossroads Museum. It was really nice. We had 20 of us out and sitting out in the open in the Care Garden, socially distancing, of course, all that good stuff.
How'd that work out? Was that a lot of fun?
It was amazing. It was really, really great. A, it was really nice to see more students. B, it was pretty nice outside.
It's nice to see people too. I mean, in a group. I mean,
yes, and it was also nice to see the folks who were riding around and stopping to see what was going on. There were a couple of times during rehearsal I looked over on the sidewalk where Joe's Shoes is over on that area across the road. There were just some people over there watching what was going on. So
you should have told them you're having like a seance or something, or some kind of weird sort of some.
No, it's we wanted them to see what was going on, so they would come buy tickets. It was really, really nice. And so we got some we did get some, I guess, sort of good news this week. The Corinth School District did announce their graduation dates last week after we had already recorded our episode. Let me give you the dates again for Frozen. June 19th, 20th, and 21st. On June,
almost exactly a month.
Yeah, it's a month.
A month from today.
On June 21st, that's a Sunday. We'll probably have a matinee and an afternoon show after that. So we'll have to see. And then June 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th. On the 27th and the 28th, we'll have two shows. We'll have a matinee and an evening show on both of those dates, just so that we can get all of the performances in that we want.
Now, how many performances do you anticipate doing in all for Frozen?
Well, we can contractually do up to 10, and I would really like to do up to 10 because, as we've kind of talked about, that some of our surrounding states have released some guidelines for opening up for entertainment venues and stuff like that. And thanks to our board member, Buffy Gibson, she and I were talking about this afternoon, what some of those guidelines are. When we were going to do this at the Coliseum downtown, we were only going to do 8. I didn't really want to overwork the kids because we were going to do a Cookies with the Cast event. We were going to do all kinds of other stuff too associated with it. So I really just want to forward shots at it. But because we're going to do it here at CTA, hyper clean environment. We're only going to sell 50% of the house. So we'll do that as general admission sales, so that what we're going to encourage you to do is we don't really want to handle any of your transactions at the box office. We just want you to have your seats, and we'll give you your assignments for where you are. So we're really going to encourage buying your seats online, available before you walk up. Sure, if we have the availability to do walk up seating, we'll give you some of that, but more than likely, with a show and a cast this size and this demand, there probably maybe walk-up seating for 2 shows. So we're really going to make a huge push to purchase your tickets online. We're working with our ticketing agent right now to make that possible, to get all the kinks worked out of it, so that you come in, we can not put you close to anybody that isn't in your party that you brought with you, as best as we can, and really try to make this experience as healthy, health friendly as we possibly can. Obviously, if you'd like to wear a mask, that's something we encourage you to do. We want to take every precaution that we can.
I thought about wearing a mask. like a Lone Ranger type mask, or
It's just
something like that.
it's kind of weird now, just being like, oh, you're just wearing a mask in public. I
Yeah.
feel odd at a grocery store when someone comes
Or
up in a
thing like
mask.
a bandana and tying
Yeah,
around my face.
I've got like a little medical mask, but
Yeah.
it's not like you've seen people with like the full on mask. It's kind of weird,
One of those theater masks that has the smiley face, frowny face.
like in our logo,
Yeah, right.
not like the old masks that are up in the attic.
Well,
That's what I.
where are those? Is that
They
where
are up there.
Okay, 'cause
I
used to
should have
hang
gotten
up-
them. Next week on Going Off Book, my prop for the week is going to be those bad boys. I'm going to get those humongous things out, and we'll take a look at them because they're still up in the attic. Blaine and I saw them the other day when we were putting
I
some
wondered
stuff up
what
there.
happened to them, if they floated away with one of the floods or something.
No, they're still up there.
Okay.
So mask thing, totally encourage you to do if you feel comfortable doing that. And you know, we're looking into how this is possibly going to affect us the entire season. So flexibility is going to be the key word around here next season for sure. So definitely we'll have more updates for things like that as we get going. One of the things that are going to kind of go by the wayside for this, definitely for Frozen, it may be something that we do for a while. I know we've talked about this in our board conversation. Goodbye playbills. A lot of times, you know, we only print so many and try to reuse as many as possible. A lot of you patrons are really nice to try to help us recycle those. And we're going to move to an online format for that. So I think what we'll do is we'll have like a QR code somewhere in the lobby that you can scan and pull up the playbill ahead of time. But, you know, as far as like extra trash that, you know, volunteers and our ushers have to handle, we don't want to do any of that. And we don't want you to feel like, you know, someone could have been sick and handled a playbill or something like that. So definitely new times for us here at the Crossroads Playhouse.
For all of us, yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. So those are the dates for Frozen. You know, we're in conversation with our city officials to make sure, you know, definitely in, you know, almost 19 days, this is something that we all feel comfortable with. But if they're opening up churches, people had church last weekend even when they weren't supposed to, I feel like we'll be good to go for this. As always, if you have any concerns, please feel free to ask. You know, we're responsive in how we handle that for you, and not just our patrons, but our volunteers and anyone else. So please feel free to shoot us a message or send us an email or something like that.
Yeah, or follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Really, everything of any significance that happens here is posted immediately on social media, either
Right.
Facebook or Instagram. So if you want to know anything at all that's going on here, audition dates, show times,
Right.
anything of any significance, if the show's been canceled, what the seating arrangements are, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll have all that information right away.
Right. I think it's also kind of important to talk about this going forward. We have we actually have a refund policy on our website, and it is we don't have one. It's all sales are final. We're a nonprofit arts organization. If you give me $4, I'm going to keep that $4. So, you know, as we look at doing season tickets and things like that for next season, which we really may not do. Rocky Horror, I think, was a great example last year. You know, we had one show totally canceled that had nothing totally out of our control. First time that's happened maybe ever in our history. And, you know, we called everyone that had already bought tickets for that show and gave them the option to move shows or whatever. There were only a couple of people that were really like, no, I just want my money. And please remember, flexibility is the key for all of us going forward. So we're going to approach season 52 with a lot of flexibility in that. So what we're going to do now is, now that we have our dates for Frozen, really kind of look forward in scheduling and how it's going to fall for the remainder of the year. What I can tell you are that our dates for the next two shows that we have planned are still pretty solid. July 9th through 12th and 17th through 19th is Chicago. The teen production of Little Shop of Horrors, July 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So those dates we know. What we do want to tell you today is that we are going to do additional auditions for Chicago. And we are going to do some, set our audition dates for our second curtain, some other things for season 52. Being mindful of that going forward, I know I talked about this with our cast of Frozen. So our shows may look slightly a little bit different. Not a ton. Let me tell you what I mean by that. With Frozen, I know that we had a lot of this choreography planned, lots of big choreography, large groups, and I feel kind of now it's specifically for Frozen, our first show back and all this, that's not something we're going to do. Very rarely in a large ensemble show are you ever going to see a whole lot of one character standing on stage alone. You're probably going to see some of that in Frozen, especially in moments like Let It Go. There are still, large moments like Higa, which is a full cast number, that we will do that and have cast members appropriately placed. But our focus is not hugely on choreography for stuff like that in these next couple of shows coming up. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be choreography in Chicago. It just means that the movement will look a little bit differently, and you're still going to get the amazing talent and experience that you'll have in any production here at CTA.
Absolutely.
So know that going forward. So again, we're going to set some dates for additional Chicago auditions and our second curtain auditions. And I think I'll go on and do Barefoot in the Park auditions. We'll be able to give you those dates next week. So look forward to those. Those will go live.
And they'll be on our Facebook page.
They will be. It's Facebook events. So anything coming up on our calendar, the only thing we've had literally scheduled on our calendar right now has been going off book, and it's there. So definitely make sure you're following along with us on Facebook and Instagram.
And if you've never had any acting experience, if you'd like to get involved in this and become a volunteer, I can't think of a better show for an adult than Barefoot in the Park. Neil Simon he's the bread and butter of community theaters all across the United States. Everything from Biloxi Blues to Lost in Yonkers to Rumors to Barefoot in the Park. He really is a gem, and his stuff is funny and it's poignant, and
and literally that show works itself.
Yeah,
like you can't mess that show up, and
no,
we're not gonna.
And it's a lot of fun. So I would encourage anybody, if you're thinking about dipping your toe in the water, you give it a shot with that.
Especially if you've been cooped up and you're really looking for something to do. Yeah. We announce these audition dates, come out in droves. Obviously, cautions will be taken for auditions. Right. Kind of speaking about that, how did you get talked into your very first audition?
I didn't get talked into it. I talked myself into it. In September of 2003, I had read in the paper that the theater was going to be doing Macbeth, and that they're going to be doing a midnight production of Macbeth on Halloween night, which would have been the Friday night, the opening night, as a matter of fact. I always had an interest in Shakespeare. Macbeth was my favorite play, primarily because it was Abraham Lincoln. Lots of people
I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Abraham Lincoln was extremely fond of Macbeth, and I came down. I didn't come down for the original auditions, which were on Labor Day Monday and Tuesday. I came down, and Katie Simons Davis, the former artistic director here and a dear friend of mine, hadn't cast it yet. So I'll never forget. I came into the lobby. Laurie Pritchett was here. I think Ed Lucas was here. Tanya Maxton was here. Who else was here maybe that night? Maybe Allison Cartwright. A couple other people. In any event, I came in and I was treated extremely cordially. It was made at home right away. And Katie asked me what I need. I said, well, I'm kind of here to audition for Macbeth that hadn't been cast yet. And she said, no, it hasn't. So she gave me a script, and we came right up here onto this stage. And I read for a few different parts, and we toured the facility, and we got ready to go. And I gave her the script back, and I said, well, I guess I'll be seeing you. And she said, oh, by the way, before you leave, I want to give you the script. Why don't you play Macbeth?
Wow.
So that was my
holy crap.
That was my foray into community theater. So I go
Katie.
I go from 0 to 100. I mean, like that.
The thing that I did enjoy about Katie is she when she made her mind up about something, she could see the potential in someone. Yeah. That's a talent. That's not something that you can teach a director. And casting is the absolute most difficult thing that you can do.
And it was interesting because having spoken with her after that, had I not auditioned for the show, there are people who played significant roles that wouldn't have been cast at all.
Huh.
Because of casting decisions you'd have had.
Right, you got to, the cast has to be balanced.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked with another cast. So
right.
you'd have people that would have been playing substantial roles, substantial supporting roles that wouldn't have been in the show at all.
Wow.
Not because of me, but just because someone else would have been cast as Macbeth.
Right.
And
It would have moved everyone around.
on down the line,
Right.
some change would have been made to have made
Makes
it.
sense.
You may have heard, if you are a theater aficionado, the term being miscast, and
Yep.
what that means is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not that that you're not a good actor. It means that you've been cast in an inappropriate role, a role
Correct.
that you're not suitable for.
Correct. Without giving any dear specifics, a very dear friend of ours was in a production, not here, and it was a production that I was interested in seeing, and this person is a very dear friend of both of ours, longtime volunteer here, and I was interested in seeing them in this production because of the casting. They were the strongest performer in the show, horribly miscast. The whole show was miscast. It was cast based on, I guess, I don't know, personal preference or whatever, but I know that if that person walked into the auditions for that show, they would have been cast in the role they played when we did that show last. And it casting is, I always say, is 100% the most important thing that I do in my job. If you get the cast right, everything else is gravy. And if one person is even off a little bit, it affects everything that you do. And that doesn't mean that even if you've never done anything, you shouldn't audition because you don't know if you're going to fit that type. Well, I mean, you had no idea that you would walk in this building and leave as Macbeth, knowing that you were Macbeth right then.
No, in fact, that's the challenge of coming down and being a volunteer, is being asked to do something that you're not comfortable doing.
Right.
That's what's called acting.
Call a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we love here is new faces. We had a lot of new faces for Frozen. We had new faces a lot last season too.
Let me say this too, while we're still on the subject of casting. So often we talk about having an ensemble cast.
Mm-hmm.
Every show, in a sense, is an ensemble cast.
Absolutely.
Because every show, no matter what it is, whether it's Rocky Horror Show, whether it's Barefoot in the Park, whether it's Macbeth, whether it's Hamlet, whether it's I don't know what, every show is only as good as its worst performer. So everybody is equally significant. Some people may have more lines than others, but a show is only as good as its weakest link.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that it took me a long time as an actor to understand that. As a director, everything we do, we approach from an ensemble standpoint. There are specifically shows that we do that they are definitely ensemble shows, but every production that we do here, you could not do, you would not see the finished product that you see if that was not our approach. There isn't anybody that ever walks in here for an audition that we say, oh, this is all about them, we're going to burn the barn for them. No. We want a total ensemble piece in the finished product. A really great example of that right now is Frozen. Anna and Elsa get a whole lot of, most people came to audition for Anna and Elsa. Of all the people that auditioned, 72% auditioned for some form of Anna or Elsa. And, they're going to only be two, but they are two people in a humongous cast. And the way that show flows is that it's not all about them. Yes, it is about them, but it's not all about them. And at the end of the day, if their supporting cast aren't as incredible as they are, and if their ensemble isn't as incredible as they are, then it doesn't matter.
If we're all about them, they'd be the only two characters in the show.
Yeah, I mean, it would be boring. You would be going to watch a concert, not live theater. So I really feel like we did that well with the Rocky Horror Show.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things too that people fail to realize who come here and see theater, and you will realize if you come and become part of our volunteer group, is whenever you see a show, for every actor that you see on stage, there's probably another person or two or three that doesn't appear anywhere in the playbill, that doesn't appear on stage, that's had as significant, if not more, time and effort put into the production
Oh
of the
yeah,
show than the actor has.
right. And our production staff is always kind of extensive. I'm really super lucky to have some of the absolute best people to work with from a production team standpoint. I do have the absolute best assistant director in the world. I think there's oftentimes maybe a misunderstanding about that. Emily is always my assistant director because we just celebrated our 14-year wedding anniversary the other day. And there really isn't anybody that can understand what I'm thinking when I'm not saying something quite like her. And she also is really good at this. The productions that she's had her hand in as director, she's done expertly because even if I'm not the actual director of the show and she is the director of the show, we rely on each other's thought process so much. So when you see a show like Steel Magnolias, for instance, that was completely co-directed. I'd said from the get-go I was the absolute last person on earth who should direct Steel Magnolias because I was a guy in a cast of 6 ladies. I needed my production team to be able to do things that I absolutely could not, like costuming and some other things. There were many a times where I would say, okay, I'm going to leave the room now, and you all have the floor, and our production team handled it. So I know that I'm super lucky to have an assistant director in life and in work. That she is a fantastic actress, but she really enjoys doing this.
And it gives you another set of eyes too. If you look at
You have
like,
to have more than two.
yeah,
You have to have more than
like,
one set of eyes.
I'm assuming that when you look at something for long enough, you like Death of a Salesman, for instance. As long as that rehearsal process was, and as many hours as we spent here, once you had seen that as many times as you did, you almost became numb, I would think, to spots maybe that needed shoring up
Mm-hmm.
because you've seen it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes just ingrained in your head. It helps to have somebody else take a look at it and say, wait a minute, Act 2, Scene 1, that about a third of the way through, the lighting needs to, that's not
Yeah,
working.
so this isn't working, right?
This scene's weird. You need to change up that blocking a little bit.
Well, and it's always good to have a team of people around you who are not afraid to be like, this is terrible. This needs some work. This needs this. This needs that. Because constructive criticism is how you grow. And the production staff is maybe the most undervalued part of any live performance. For every one volunteer you see on stage, there's at least 4 others making that happen for them. Great example of that was when we took the Glass Menagerie to state competition a couple years ago. It was a show with 4 actors, and we took 22 people. It had a support staff of 18 people.
5 times as many people
as you would see on stage. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you want to move an entire set in the dark, when you have a director who has a harebrained idea. But every part of our machine is the wheels that turn are all of equal size. I have a real straightforward policy with our students, and I say at the beginning of every student production, and they know that I mean it. Everyone is important. Every single solitary role is important. When we lose a person, it nags me. It bugs me to death. And so, my policy is if I ever hear you saying anything to anyone else about the size of your role and the size of their role, you are gone. There's the door, and you're gone for a while, because that's not how we do things here. We don't exist for 1 or 2 people to look amazing. We exist for our community to grow, and we can only grow together as artists if we're growing together as artists. Our art will only improve and reach as far as it can if we're working together.
And everybody looks good doing their job, whether you're playing what
Yep.
you think is a leading role or whether you're playing what you think is a nothing role. There are no nothing roles, but even if you think
No.
it is, everybody looks fantastic doing their job.
Mm-hmm. I challenge you to go see a show at the Orpheum or Broadway. A great big musical is probably the best thing. The best I've ever seen use of an ensemble. We saw Aladdin right before the shutdown, and it's all is I can't watch anything not objectively anymore. Like, so when we go see something like that, I'm watching all the background characters and everything else and trying to find one. Then I want to plot their path around the stage and see their interactions. Every piece works together. It's really important to know that too. You may show up and you may get to be the lead. You may show up and you may not get to be the lead. You may show up and I may do some background check on you and figure out that you would be awesome as a stage manager. We've had 2 or 3 people, I'm telling you, we've had 2 or 3 people that have come in as volunteers, as on-stage volunteers, that have been the absolute best flipping stage managers I have ever seen.
And let me say, too, that having played the leads, having been fortunate enough to play the lead several times in several shows, or the directors having been maybe blind or deaf during the audition, but also having played substantial supporting roles, it is far more difficult, immeasurably more difficult, at least to me, to play a substantial supporting role than it is to play the lead.
Yep.
Because if you're playing the lead, you're setting the pace for the entire performance.
Yep.
If you're playing a supporting role, you have to go at everybody else's pace. You can't go too fast, but you've got to go fast enough to keep up. If you're playing the lead, everybody has to. You're like the lead dog on the Iditarod. Everybody's behind you. Playing Big Daddy, for instance, was far more difficult than playing Macbeth because Big Daddy was not the lead, but he was a substantial supporting role, and it was immeasurably more difficult than playing Macbeth.
I was really, really fortunate a couple years ago, and I was fortunate you guys let me do this. Right as I started this job, I was hired to play Shrek in Shrek the Musical for a theater in Conway, Arkansas, Red Curtain Theater. And I said to our cast on opening night, it was a cast of 65 or 70, that I absolutely was the least talented among them, even though I was Shrek and Shrek the Musical. And I realized that because in that rehearsal process, I would drive all the way over there, and I would have rehearsal, just like I would in any other musical. And I would do my thing in our rehearsal space. And there would be times, where characters and ensemble parts would be switched in and out. But I realized about a month in that for every hour that I was in the rehearsal space, the entire ensemble was in the dance studio. When we actually got to our performance space and ran through a couple of the large numbers where I was also involved, where I literally just stood there, there was 1 or 2 times that I was just like, what is this? Because the ensemble makes that show go. Yes, Shrek and Fiona and Donkey and Farquaad make all the pieces move to where they're supposed to, but it's the ensemble that makes that work. That was a great learning experience for me, even as an actor, because if you're able to look around and appreciate the people around you and what they're putting into it, I know that for every 4 hours that I put into rehearsal, they put 24 in the dance studio. So I knew that I needed to up my game and get on their level in a way that was, that I could try to do, that wasn't singing and dancing all over the place. It was just standing there singing a lot of times. So I think that any notion that there is anything other than absolute community involvement is just a fallacy. So the best way to really look at what we do here is like a family. Yeah. You may not ever played a team sport, you may not ever done anything like this, but you have a family. And when a family works well together, it really works well together, and we always try to make ours work.
And we're only as good as you, the community. So
yeah, absolutely.
Feel free to come down and be a part of us and help us out.
Please do. Yeah. All right, so tonight we're going to throw back to last season in just a few minutes with something that we hope you really enjoy. But before we do that, we are going to go and bring out the Critic's Choice Cookbook, the most infamous book in CTA history. I'm going with a recipe this week that really has nothing to do with Death of a Salesman, because I know Willie Loman sure wouldn't have had Surefire Rib Roast.
Really, he ate cheese and drank milk.
I mean, I looked for a glass of milk in here, and it wasn't in here. So this week's recipe comes to us courtesy of Joan Hennessy, and it's the Surefire Rib Roast. And I tell you why I picked this. a member of our community, Bobby Burns, who is a friend of ours. We actually got our dog from he and his family. Now his wife Christy, who is the executive director of Visit Corinth, works with my wife
Rufus.
and we got Rufus from the Burns. And so the day that we went to go pick Rufus up was Christmas Eve, and we were going to go pick him up and take him out to Emily's parents. And we went in to get him, and Bobby was cooking the Surefire Rib Roast from this cookbook. He was like, man, I always go by this thing. And it was the best looking rib roast, and I've tried to find a way to work it in, and now's really the first time to. But here's what we're going to do: the Surefire Rib Roast from Joan Hennessy. You need 1 rib roast. Allow 2 to 2.5 servings per pound. I always use about a 10-pound roast. Okay. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Place completely thawed out beef, fat side up, in a shallow roasting pan. Put the roast in the oven at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and bake for exactly 1 hour. Turn off oven and do not open oven door all afternoon. 45 minutes before serving time, turn the oven on again to 350. After taking the roast from the oven, allow it to rest for 10 minutes before carving. Carve in slices across the grain, using the tip of the knife to loosen the slices as you carve. The method is for rib roast only. No matter what the weight of the roast, it will come out medium rare.
Why do you have to let it rest? Is it tired?
No, you have to let it rest so that it keeps the juice. So that when you get that piece of meat on your plate, it is delicious.
I haven't had supper yet.
Well, I can tell you, the most difficult part of this recipe: do not open oven door all afternoon. What are you supposed to do, man?
Looking there.
Are you supposed to? I can tell you, from walking in the Burns house, smelling this doesn't even talk about seasoning or anything else. Season it however the hell you want to. But I'm telling you, this is a tried and true method that apparently works and works and works.
Well, it says here that you start at 1 o'clock and bake it for exactly 1 hour.
They're telling you the time to do it in. That's genius.
Okay, now what? All afternoon. How long is all afternoon?
However long.
So you can let it go till
6 or 7 or whatever you want to, but as long as you're firing it back up at 350, it's ready to rock and roll.
Okay.
I'll see if I can get some photos of this, but
it says no matter what the way the roast,
it will come out as medium rare. That's insane.
That's unreal, yeah.
And that is what turned me on to this, was Bobby saying that it was always medium rare.
You don't put any rub on this of any kind, do you?
I mean, I guess you can.
I guess you can put something.
But I mean, the fact that it's always going to come out medium rare, I think, is insanity.
You could eat that like a steak with a baked potato.
Yeah, it's a steak. Yeah. Absolutely. So,
That's
I mean.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So you should try this. You should try this because Willie Loman never got to.
Although he did go to a restaurant and had some drinks beforehand and wound up wandering off into the wet
But the Surefire Rib Roast. If you happen to have a copy of the Critics' Choice Cookbook, send us a photo of you with the cookbook. That would be cool, I think. This is an interesting little cookbook, and I'm really hoping that at some point, when we have lots of free time, we can digitize this because it's binding, so that we could, so that we can absolutely always keep it forever and ever.
There's a copy or two of that in the library, don't they, for when the library opens back up?
Yes. Curbside service coming very soon to you from the Corinth Library.
Really?
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that is nice.
So there's your Critics' Choice recipe of the week. All right. So this week, Clay and I, we had a conversation last week after we finished this. So let's do something a little different. We talked about comedy. We talked about, I don't know, we talked about...
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
That's what we did talk about, but I want our Rosencrantz and Guildenstern from Hamlet to do that.
Yes.
And we'll try to do that when Hamlet Act 1 is live on YouTube, which hopefully should be in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So we kind of went back to the drawing board. Let me tell you this. It is easy for me to do what I do with actors on a stage. It just is. It's very easy for me. I love it. It's like playing chess with myself a lot of times. It's very rewarding for me to have you, Clay, enact the vision of Willie Loman that I see in my head, because for me, forever and a day, there are 2 or 3 images of Death of a Salesman that I will always see, and it is you and Dan Marsh sitting across from each other playing cards
on this very table.
on this very table
Right
at this
in this
very
spot.
spot. The other is the four of you up in your bedrooms at the beginning of the show with the way the show started. And then you sitting on the floor with Jacob as Ben standing over you at the very end. Those are the images that I'll always see. We did a very, very, very abstract performance of Death of a Salesman. Clay and I were discussing this earlier before we started recording. How much of this is a dream? It's such an incredible piece of work, but it's so very deep, and it was very challenging to direct. So we wanted to do a scene from Death of a Salesman, but I didn't want to read from it. So I just went and got actors that played their role. Probably for us, one of the most challenging scenes in the entire show is in Act 2, where Willie and Biff both have just been defeated. Willie's been fired. Biff has gone to see Bill Oliver to set up this opportunity that's going to save everyone, and he blows it. They're going to meet this restaurant for a celebratory dinner. I cannot say enough about every person that was in that show. That is many lines as Clay had, and as humongous of a task it was to be Willie Loman. Willie Loman is only Willie Loman with Ben, with Stanley, with
Charlie.
I mean, that is such an ensemble show. One character just has more lines than the other, and I felt like we did that really, really well. And so I knew that I needed to do this scene, which I think is one of the most instrumental scenes in the entire show. We needed the real deal. So this week we got Jack Simpson, who played Happy Loman for us. We got Matthew Wood, who played Biff Loman for us, and this guy right here, who played Willie Loman for us, to come in and perform an amended version of the table scene from the restaurant in Death of a Salesman. So it's easy for me to do this, like with these folks on stage, doing it so that we can edit it for you to see. Film direction is entirely different. But we think we have a neat little thing for you. What was it like for you to go back and to do what was arguably your most difficult scene in the entire show?
It certainly was my most difficult scene. Not emotionally, but from a technical standpoint. One of the things that surprised me was how it wouldn't have taken long to have been completely off book for that scene again. And I think that
you almost were the other day.
Yeah, and we all were. And I think that is a hallmark of a great playwright. Is if it's true that all art aspires to music, all literature aspires to poetry.
Yeah.
And even though something may be written in prose, the best prose is poetic in rhythm, and it's poetic in the way that it sounds. And whether it's Tennessee Williams, or whether it's Arthur Miller, or whether it's Eugene O'Neill, or whether it's Samuel Beckett, once you have beautiful words in your head that are written beautifully and written in the right rhythm, they stay there forever, and it doesn't take long to get them back. And that was the thing that stuck in my head most from the other day.
Well, it was really nice. We went through it a couple of times, and keep in mind what you're about to see. They've got copies of what they're performing in their hands, and they're reading. I mean, mostly they're reading. A lot of it, some of it they didn't, but it's as close to an actual performance I think that we've gotten in this so far. And I can tell you, as a director, there was one take of this we did that I just was transported back to when we did this show, because the intensity of that scene just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And there is nothing like experiencing something like this live. I'll say this: the product you're about to watch, it's okay. I think it's really good, actually. Not trying to pat myself on the back, but I think for what we did and the time frame we did it in, I only did 3 takes of that. It's pretty good. But there is nothing like experiencing that
No, that
in
was,
person.
that was amazing.
But that's the very last you'll ever see of us doing that of A Salesman.
I think the board passed a resolution not to do that show.
We put in our bylaws, I think, that we were the only ones ever to do it, and we'll never do it again. But it was really a pleasure to work with the 3 of you together again, because I know that in some of my notes I was like, now you remember, if you go back, because some of the blocking was still pretty fresh, and for a show that we did last February, February 20.
The last of
19.
February and 1st of March, yeah.
Yeah, February 2019. We only did 4 performances of this.
Yeah. And the weather was really bad all weekend that week.
And I don't know that we could have done. I don't know that you guys could have done more performances of this. Honestly, because there was one night. It's not really a spoiler alert, but the way that we blocked the end of the show is Clay is sitting down stage left in his garden, planting carrots with his seeds, and his brother Ben, that he sees in his mind, comes in and talks him into committing suicide. And Clay had just been in the zone the entire show. Like it was this scene right here that I watched from over in the wing, that I was just like, Clay's gone. Like he was not Clay anymore. He was just Willie Loman. He was so tapped in. And at the end of the show, we had this experience set up for you so that Clay would exit out the house doors, and in that time you'd hear a car crank and then a car crash because he's killed himself, and Jacob's just very surreally laughing through the whole time. It's like I will not ever not hear that. And then we go to the Requiem. Well, we get to the Requiem, get to finish the show. Clay's just gone. Like I didn't have you come out for the end. Did we bow for that? I don't think we did. We didn't. He just got in his car and left. It was like, well, Clay's gone. He just Willie Lomaned himself. But it's very surreal. It's just a visceral feeling.
Yes.
At the end of that show with a gut punch. Is the last show that my mother ever saw here, and she told me, I was standing on the ramp. She came out and she put her hand on my arm and she said, "That was hard, son." I said, "Well, that was the intent, Mother." She said, "It's just dark. It takes you to a dark place. I'll think about that for the rest of my life." And that's the kind of experience that we were going for. It absolutely was. That was the right feedback. So what we want to do now is just turn you over to the work. So take a couple of minutes, and we hope that you enjoy Death of a Salesman.
Look, I told you she was on call.
Cut it out, will you? I want to say something to you.
Did you see Oliver?
I saw him all right. Now look, I want to tell Dad a couple things, and I want you to help me.
What? Is he gonna back you?
Are you crazy? You're out of your goddamn head. Do you know that?
Why? What happened?
I did a terrible thing today, Hap. It's been the strangest day I ever went through. I'm all numb.
You mean he wouldn't see you?
Well, I waited 6 hours for him, see? All day I kept sending my name in. Even tried to date his secretary so she'd get me to see him, but no so.
Oh, that's because you're not showing the old confidence, Biff. He remembered you, didn't he?
Finally, about 5 o'clock, he comes out. Didn't remember who I was or anything. I felt like such an idiot.
Did you tell him my Ford idea?
He walked away. I saw him for 1 minute. I got so mad I could have torn the walls down. How the hell did I ever get the idea that I was a salesman there? I even believed myself that I'd been a salesman for him. And then he gave me one look, and I realized what a ridiculous lie my whole life has been. We've been talking in a dream for 15 years. I was a shipping clerk.
Well, what'd you do?
Well, he left, and the secretary went out. I was all alone in the waiting room. I don't know what came over me, Hap. The next thing I know, I'm I'm in his office. Paneled walls, everything. I can't explain it, Hap. I took his fountain pen.
Jeez, did he catch you?
I ran out. I ran down all 11 flights.
God, that was awful dumb, Biff. What'd you do that for?
I don't know. I wanted to take something. I don't know. You got to help me, Hap. I'm going to tell
Are
Pop.
you crazy? What for?
Hap, he's got to understand that I'm not the man somebody lends that kind of money to. He thinks I've been spiting him all these years, and it's eating him up.
And that's just it. You tell him something nice.
I can't.
Tell him you have a lunch date with Oliver tomorrow.
So, what do I do tomorrow?
You leave the house and then come back at night and say that Oliver's thinking it over. He thinks it over for a couple of weeks. Gradually it fades away. Nobody's the worse.
But it'll go on forever.
Dad is never so happy as when he's looking forward to something. Oh, hello, Scout.
Gee, I haven't been here in years.
Sit down, Pop. You want a drink?
Sure, I don't mind.
Let's get a load on, huh?
You look worried. You've had a couple already, haven't you?
Just a couple, yeah.
Well, what happened, boy? Everything go all right?
Pal, I had an experience today.
Terrific, Pop.
That's so. Well, what happened?
I'm going to tell you everything, from first to last. It's been a strange day. I had to wait for him for quite a while.
For Oliver?
Yeah, Oliver. All day, as a matter of fact. In a lot of instances. Facts, Pop. Facts about my life came back to me. Who was it, Pop? Whoever said I was a salesman with Oliver?
Well, you were.
No, Dad, I was a shipping clerk.
Well, you were practically.
Dad, I don't know who said it first, but I was never a salesman for Bill Oliver.
What are you talking about?
Let's hold on to the facts tonight, Pop. We're not going to get anywhere bulling around, okay? I was a shipping clerk.
All right, now listen to me.
Why don't you let me finish?
I'm not interested in stories about the past or any crap of that kind because the woods are burning, boys. You understand? There's a big blaze going on all around. I was fired today.
How could you be?
I was fired. And I'm looking for a little good news to tell your mother because the woman has waited and the woman has suffered. The gist of it is I don't have a story left in my head, Biff, so don't give me a lecture about facts and aspects. I'm not interested. Now, what have you got to say to me? Did you see Oliver?
Jesus.
You
Dad.
mean you didn't go up there?
Sure, he went up there.
I did. I saw him.
Well,
How could they fire you?
What kind of welcome did he give you?
He won't let you work on commission?
Look, I'm out. So, did he give you a warm welcome?
Sure, Pop, sure.
Well, it was kind of...
I was wondering if he'd remember you. Imagine, a man doesn't see him 10, 12 years and gives him that kind of a welcome.
Damn right.
Pop, look.
You know why he remembered you, don't you? Because you made such an impression in those days.
Let's talk quietly and get down to the facts, huh?
Well, what happened? It's great news, Biff. Did he take you in his office or did he meet you on the lobby?
Well, he came in and...
I bet you threw his arms around you, didn't he?
Well, he kind of...
Very hard man to see, you know.
I know.
Is that where you had the drinks?
Yeah, he gave me a couple of... No,
He gave him my floor. He told him my Florida idea.
Don't interrupt. How do you react to the Florida
Dad,
idea?
will you give me a minute to explain?
I've been waiting for you to explain since I sat down here. What happened? He took you into his office and then what?
Well, I talked and he listened.
Oh,
and
yes. Famous for the way he listens, you know. What was his answer?
His answer was, Dad, you're not letting me tell you what I want to tell you.
You didn't see him, did you?
I did see him.
What'd you do, insult him or something? You insulted him, didn't you?
Listen, will you let me out of it, huh? Will you just let me out of
What
it?
the hell?
Tell me what happened.
I can't talk to him.
Tell him what happened.
Shut up and leave me alone.
No, you had to go and flunk math.
What math? What are you talking about?
Math!
Take it easy, Pop.
If you hadn't flunked, you'd be all set up by now.
Now, look, I'm going to tell you what happened, and you're going to listen to me, all right? I waited 6 hours.
What the hell are
I
you
kept
saying?
sending in my name, but he wouldn't see me. So I'm washed up with Oliver. You understand? Are you listening to me?
Yeah, sure. You hadn't flunked.
Flunked? What are you talking about?
Don't blame everything on me. I didn't flunk math. You did. What pen?
That was awful dumb, Biff. A pen like that is worth...
You took Oliver's fountain pen?
Dad, I just
You
explained
stole
it to you.
Bill Oliver's fountain pen?
I didn't exactly steal it. That's just what I've been
He
explaining.
had it in his hand, and just then Oliver walked in, so he got nervous and he stuck it in his pocket.
God, Biff.
I never intended to do it, Dad.
I'm not in my room.
Dad, what's the matter?
I'm not here. Stop it.
Dad, I'll make good. I'll make good. Sit
Mr.
down.
Loman
No,
does not
no,
answer.
no, you're no good. You're
Shall
no
I
good
page
for
him?
anything.
I am, Dad. I'll find something else. You understand? Now don't worry about anything.
No, no, no,
Someone's at the
You'll
door,
strike
Willie.
something, Pop.
no.
Pop, listen to me.
Willie?
Listen to me. I'm telling you something good.
Going to wake up?
Oliver talked to his partner about the Florida idea. Pop, are you listening? He talked to his partner and he came to me. I'm gonna be all right, you hear? Dad, listen to me. He said it was just a question of the amount.
Then you got it.
He's gonna be terrific, Pop.
Then you got it, haven't you? You got it. You got it.
No, look, Pop, I'm supposed to have lunch with him tomorrow. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you this so you'll know that I can still make an impression, Pop, and I'll make good somewhere, but I can't go tomorrow.
Why not? You simply
But the pen, Pop.
you give it to him and tell him it was open spot.
Sure, have lunch tomorrow.
I can't say that.
You were doing a crossword puzzle and accidentally used his pen.
Listen, kid, I took those balls years ago. Now I walk in with this fountain pen that clinches it. Don't you see? I can't face him like that. I'll try elsewhere.
Don't you want to be
Pop.
anything?
How can I go back, huh?
You don't want to be anything. Is that what's behind it?
Don't take it that way. You think it was easy walking into that office after what I'd done to him? A team of horses couldn't have dragged me back to Bill Oliver.
Then why did you go?
Why did I go? Why did I go? Look at yourself. Look at what's become of you.
Biff, you're going to go to that lunch tomorrow. Or
I can't go. I've got no appointment.
Biff, for...
are you spiting me?
Don't take it that way. God damn it!
You rotten little louse. Are you spiting me?
I'm no good. Can't you see what I am?
You are in a restaurant. Now cut it out, both. Sit him down, Biff.
Come on, Slugger. Drink us under the table.
Stanish Arms, good evening. Ringing Mr. Loman for
Hey,
you.
open the door.
Mr. Loman does not answer.
Come on.
Shall I page in?
Where are you going?
Paging
The
Mr.
washroom.
Loman.
The door. Where's the door?
Just go straight down. You've just seen a prince walk by. A fine, troubled prince. A hardworking, unappreciated prince. A pal. You understand? A good companion. Always for his boys.
We're wasting time. Come on, Biff. Where would you like to go?
Why don't you do something for him?
Me?
Don't you give a damn for him, Hap?
What are you talking about? I'm the one who...
I sense it. You don't give a good goddamn about him. Look what I found in the cellar, huh? For Christ's sake, how can you bear to let it go on?
Me? Me, who goes away, who runs off and...
Yeah, but he doesn't mean anything to you. You could help him. I can't. Don't you understand what I'm talking about? He's gonna kill himself, Hap.
Don't I know it? Don't I know it, me?
Hap, help him. Please. Jesus, help him. Help me. I can't bear to look at his face.
Where are you going?
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to us this week for Going Off Book. We hope you enjoyed the show. We hope you enjoyed our clip from Death of a Salesman.
And if you haven't read the whole play or seen it, I hope
Please
this
do.
prompts you into reading the whole thing. It's a magisterial work of art.
Yeah, it's really good.
And it will take you to a dark place.
And if you can't read it, I highly encourage you to watch the filmed production with Dustin Hoffman and John Malkovich.
Yep.
I mean, insane, but there's no substitution for reading the work.
Now, although, this is not on YouTube, I've looked for it. Philip Seymour Hoffman also played Willie
Yep.
Loman. I would love to see that.
God.
That would have to be streamed.
Gone way too soon. So do that. We encourage you to do that. If there's something you'd like to see on Going Off Book, you'd like to see us read or sing from or something like that, let us know in the comments below. Go and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. This actual clip of Death of a Salesman is just there in its own, in case you want to go back and watch that. So make sure you subscribe to YouTube, and
That's it.
I think that's about it. So we look forward to seeing you next week after Memorial Day for next week's Going Off Book. We'll hope to see you soon right here in the
Right,
Crossroads
once it's done,
Playhouse, where theater comes alive. Take care.